Right, let's do this. Hello, folks. Calls. Oh, that screen needs to come a bit forward, doesn't it? Oh, let me reach across. There we go. That's better. Hello there. How are you doing? Good week. Ready for the Easter weekend? Friday tomorrow. Bank holiday. No work. Well, actually, I'm in the studio, but Kez is at home. Right. I see lots of people. You know the drill. Say hi. I see Kat, George, Zippy, Anthony, Tam, Bradley. Come on. Oh, Bradley. Bradley's too busy to watch. What a shame. Bleed. Hello, buddy. Well, that's about it then, is it? What's the lag like on the chat? It's got to be a minute or two, hasn't it? Mel in the house. I am in the house. Alas, where's my sweeties? Have a sweetie. Goodney? Hello, buddy. Right. Rob? Hello, mate. Rip? Ah, yeah. You're echoing. Am I echoing? Which mic am I working off? Should be off this webcam. Shouldn't be echoing too much. Unless it's just the normal room reverb. Guys, Chris, Rob, Red Rum, System. Hello, guys. As you can see, I am on my own. Fred may be joining us shortly. Yeah, for a couple of hours. So we'll get cracked on with that. The trenches are pretty much done. Would you like a quick peek? There you go. Looking good. All I've got to do tonight is pour the resin. And I was going to do that earlier, but I thought, you know what? You lot would probably appreciate following along. Hey, Bill, Froze, Matthew, Wolfgar. Right. So back to the main screen. So yes. Just let me finish my sweet. So it is resin pouring. I've got to do some filming before that. So we need to get cracked on with that sort of thing. I even tidied my studio. You can tell I'm reaching the end of a project. The lads at Warlord are itching to get their hands on it. Those look like trenchy trenches. What a lovely place to die. Indeed. Looking damn good, Mel. Thank you. The trenches, that is. Thanks, Tal. Thanks. Does the X-Wing fighter? No, the X-Wing fighter doesn't fit in this particular trench. Right. I need to mix some colour. I need some black. I need some brown. Oh, itchy nose. So mix some of that in there. What a decent amount. It's only house paint, so it's not like I'm wasting it. Really good work, mate. How are you doing? I'm doing well, mate. I'm doing well. Soldiering on, as they say. I've got my press passes for salute, so I'm a happy chappy. Where's my stick on? I need a new stick. A new stirring stick. Great to catch a show and not to be working on Kai or a Mal. All right, dude. Maybe a little bit too black. I'm not sure yet. Need to get it mixed. Oh no, it's browning up nicely. I get all the yeah. That's a nice colour. That'll do. Where's my cloth gone? There. Right. suppose I better get ready for doing some resin, hadn't I? Oh, right. Paper. It's been years since I've been able to sleep. Good old me. Hate travelling down London. I'm not a big fan of it, but we're staying over. Jace has booked us the the hotel on the Friday night. So I'm assuming we're staying over. Hey, Danny. Mel's making dirty noises. Calm down. Right. So let's get some resin going, eh? Yeah. Put that there. We're going to want resin. We're going to want some tissue. Is Salute similar to Gen Con? Yes, but it's a one-day event, and it's focused primarily at wargaming, whereas Gen Con's more comics and anime and board games and computer games and anything geeky. Salute is a war games convention. Yeah, you get a little crossover with a couple of other little things, but it is a war games convention. Is your PayPal email the same email to contact you, mate? Yes, it is. It is. And on PayPal's, obviously, I haven't got Jace here. So if you like the stream, if you like the channel, yeah, you can support it during the show. If you support it, links are in the description. Yeah, there's a link to PayPal. There's a link to Patreon. And there's also the link to the Terrainiacs group. And if you're not part of the Terrainiacs Facebook group, get on it. It's an awesome group. It's where we support each other with our terrain builds. You know what I mean? Get our answers, that sort of stuff. With regards to the other links, obviously, Patreon helps keep the lights on and keeps everything rolling. Yeah, and obviously PayPal helps buy all the kit and all that sort of stuff. So if you'd like to support the channel, help me out. Links are down below in the description, guys. And if you do a PayPal during a live show, we check it. You go on the screen. We cheer a little. And if we hit 3 figures, Mel does a little dance. Yeah. What Gen Con used to be. Right. Don't know. Never been to Gen Con. It's probably better to describe. No. I wouldn't describe it as an Adepticon because there's no team tournaments, so there's no tournaments there really. Yeah, there's lots of participation games, but it's mainly about the companies showing off their games. Right. We need to move this to here, yeah, and then move this to here. Because we need to get resin in there. And maybe a couple of pools. Maybe. We'll see. I'm not sure on that yet. Oh, that Nigerian prince, mate. Hey, Shrum. I can't figure out why they would go to all the bother of putting on a con for just one day. One-day cons are a very British thing. Us Brits prefer one-day cons, to be perfectly honest. We don't like stopping over places. I know you guys do your large travelling, over in the US, and you make a bit of an event of it. With us, we're like, right, this Sunday I'm going to a war game show. May have a project for you if you're up for it. Well, mate, I mean, I'm pretty booked up quite solid for a while, so no promises, but you can always email me. Right, let's get these cameras in place. Right, obviously, the trenches are pretty much finished, and I'm in tomorrow to finish the filming of them, which means tomorrow night you will have a trench video. Now, I was looking at the footage and I was editing it up last night, and it's looking to be around about 1 hour and 20 minutes. So I might split it down into 2 videos, in which case you'll probably get one tomorrow or Saturday or one Sunday. I'll make sure they follow really quick, okay? But I think an hour and an hour and 20 minutes by the time I finished it, an hour and a half, even with some brutal editing. Yeah, an hour's a long video. Yeah, I prefer keeping them around about the half-hour mark. So we're probably all looking at 2 videos to finish this project. But hey-ho, the important thing is it's all done. And like I say, yeah, we will get to the stage where... perhaps a bit more black, actually. We will get to the stage where in just like before Monday, all the videos are up, so don't worry about it. Put a bit more black in that, it's a bit too light. What does everyone think of Star Wars Legion? I've seen it. I mean, but to me, it's just another tabletop game. Come on, mix in. And a couple more stirrers. Right, they're warming up nicely. Switch that on. I need this here actually. So. Fit into 3 or 4. That makes sense. You haven't had that many patron earner videos recently. Yeah, that is the other issue. Yeah, reaching the end of the month. If I do one video, I won't actually get enough to cover all the bills. So if I split it into 2 videos, I don't break even. You know what I mean? I'll be short on the month, but it won't be as bad as if I did just one video. I know the trenches are modular, but are they interchangeable end to end? Yeah, George, all the sides meet up. So you can rearrange them however you want. You know, they will all meet up. That was part of the idea of standardizing them. Right, just got to do a bit of recording, guys. So that's the matte varnishing done, and it has finished lovely. But I haven't just matte varnished. I went back in with my airbrush and just sprayed a little bit more dilute brown around those craters and around those areas, just to muddy it up a little bit more. Yeah, and the results are rather nice. So that's what we're looking at. Now this has all been varnished. This is nice and tough and all playable. Same here. This is all firm. And as you can see, we've muddied it up lovely. So I've got a lovely transition from the green field all the way up to the muddy trenches, which are on the top of the hill. That's your fault. You wanted me to show you how to do muddy trenches. There shouldn't be muddy trenches at the top of the hill. They should be at the bottom of the hill, in the lowland, where they're dug closer to the water table and they don't drain properly. But you wanted the technique, so we've got muddy trenches at the top of the hill. So this is your fault, okay? But it does look beautiful. It does bug the terrain builder in me a little, yeah, but it's what you guys wanted. Now, we have varnished, and this would typically be the end of the process, and Mel would be a happy chap, but we are not finished yet. You see, we have to put the resin in now for the water effects, because you wanted water and puddles and, you know, water under the duckboards and that sort of stuff, so we've got to do that. Now, I've had to leave it to the very last stage, because obviously I've sprayed these with matte varnish. If I put the resin in before the water effects, spraying them over with the matte varnish would have basically matted them out and ruined the water effects, so they've had to go in after the matte varnish. And if we come down, what I'm using glass cast from Easy Composites. It's a 2-to-1 epoxy resin, hot epoxy resin, yeah? And I'll be mixing in just a little bit of brown in there, okay? Now these are my core brown colours that I've been using all the way through, so it will match the ground colour and it will look right, okay? And the idea is that we're going to pour it, in between those duck boards, and there's a couple of places which, you know, we can put some puddles in, okay, but I haven't got that much of it left. So my priority is do the duck boards, and then depending on how much volume of resin I've got left, then we'll move on and we'll look at doing perhaps some puddles and stuff like that. I should be able to, but can't be 100% sure. Now my next job is to mix up the resin. Now, I've talked about resins and all this sort of stuff. They're in the water playlist. Yeah, you can go and have a look at instructions on those sort of things. I'm not going to baby step you through it. But basically, I'm going to weigh them up, okay? 1 part what you call hardener, 2 parts resin. Give them a mix, okay? Pour them out of the cup that I'm mixing them in into a fresh cup. It's called double cupping. Yeah, it's a good way of making sure you get a really good mix. Once the double mix is done, I'm going to throw a little bit of paint in there, get my colour in there, and get it in here as quickly as possible. That's because I've got about 15 minutes before it starts, getting a bit more viscous. Okay, and it'll be difficult to pour and that sort of stuff. So I need to be on my toes on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my stirring and all that sort of stuff and just get stuck in. And when we come back, we'll have puddles in our trenches. So I'll get cracked on. There we go. Right. Yeah, in the UK they actually have trains and buses to actually go places. Yeah, that's another point to point out. Salute is probably the furthest jolly I would go, and it's still only 3.5 hours in a car. Do you know what I mean? It's a comfortable journey, which is why we don't do the 2-day overnight cons, because it's actually easy just to go home. I mean, there are a few cons that do 2 days, but from what I understand, very few people actually go for 2 days. You normally go one or the other. Because of engineering works. So true, Tam. So true. Right. I don't know why I get nervous over these bits, but I do. Look at me shuffling around trying to figure out where to do things and all that sort of stuff. Right, let's see if we can get a nice, decent long shot that I can zoom in on. Around like that. So they're both extended. Is that as high as it goes, really? Probably went higher than that. Yeah, it extends. Wait, I like better. Right. I'm not blocking the shot, am I? A little bit. Okay. I like models. Me too. It takes days just to cross Canada or the US. Exactly. I mean, you can go from one end of Britain to the other in a day. And that's the long end. 3 hours won't even get me to the state border. At 5 p.m, it might not get me out of LA. Exactly. No, I know that one. Right. Cups. Scales. Secondary cup. Zero it. Put my paint there. Stirring sticks. Right, I need to stir some resin. So I'm just going to concentrate on this because it's one of those jobs that I need to concentrate on this. Right, let's clean these out so I don't get any water in my resin. What I've just been doing is I've kept my resin in warm water. And what this does, it makes it more liquidy rather than gloopy. Yeah, so it'll be easier to mix, it'll be easier to pour. Yeah, it only needs to be room warm. Okay, but one of the things that you've got to do when you take it out of the water is you've got to wipe the bottle. Because if you don't, what happens is you get moisture, and as you're pouring it out, the moisture from the bottle will run with the with the actual resin, and you'll end up with you'll end up with water in your resin, which is something you don't really want. You really don't want. Right, so that's the resin, so we need 2 parts of that. So you can do it in volume or grams with glass cast. So I'm going to be going for grams, I think. Are we on grams? Yes, we're on grams. And in it goes. I'll take it up to 40 grams. Yeah. Keep that, or don't hover it over the bloody model post. You'll drop resin on your model. Yeah, next one. Hardener. I want 20 grams of this because it's 2 to 1. So 20 grams of this. In you go. 52, 4, 5, 59. Come on, just a little bit more. Just a gram. There you go. That'll do. I've still got a reasonable amount left. Come in. Hey, Fred.
I know, am I bad timing?
You're perfect timing. Yeah, I'm just mixing resin.
I don't want to catch him mid-pour.
You've literally caught me just before a pour, mate. Shuffle yourself round to there.
Right.
I'll just get cracked on with this. Fred, everyone.
Hi there.
Yeah. I'll give that a good mix.
Yeah, it's looking good. Wow.
It is, isn't it?
Oh, it's got a lot more sophisticated now.
Yeah, since the last time you saw it.
Yeah.
That's the final detailing and the weathering.
Yeah.
It always brings it alive.
Yeah. You put some browns in with the greens.
Yeah. Just to get the sort of mud tones on and that sort of stuff. Right.
Yeah.
Right, so I've given it a good mix in this cup. Okay, but you won't get all of it. Yeah, because it won't be properly mixed. There'll be little bits of resin or hardness stuck in corners and that sort of stuff. So what we do is we pour it into a second cup. Yeah, that way any of the unhardened, unmixed stuff is more than likely going to get dumped right in the middle where it can have a nice good stir. Yeah, so that's that one done. So we give this one a stir. And then we'll put our paint in. And then we're ready to do some precision pouring. All hail Fred, Yoda of colour. Right. Now let's throw some paint in it. I want it really opaque, yeah? Yeah, I don't want it translucent at all because it's going to be like dark mud. So, put a decent amount in. Yeah, look at that.
Call a stout.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and then the next job we've got to do is the final one, which is just the pour. You can see it, can't you? You're like,
same as me when I paint the sky. Yeah.
Is that what it's like for you when you paint the sky?
It is a bit, yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to pour this as precisely as I want. Come on. Let you seep in. Oh, see, damn.
There's always better escapes.
Yeah. Thing is, I can always go over that with what you call it, with a bit of matte varnish. Come on, let's pour some in there now.
You like a funnel or something, couldn't you?
Yeah, it's really challenging to be truthful. I mean, I don't mind the odd little spill because all I can do is what you call it. It won't take that long to dry, and I can just come in with a little bit of matte varnish and varnish it out.
Yeah, the worst you can scrape it off with blade and then paint over.
Yeah. There's plenty of other options. Right. Oh, I've done it again. I hate resin for this job. Yeah. Well, we just clean that off. Yeah. And then pull that way. Pull that way. There we go. And throw that over there. So we'll have a little bit of patching up with a bit of with a bit of matte varnish on there in the morning by the looks of it. No problem.
You've got a few going here at the same time.
Yeah, I've just got a couple to do, you know what I mean? Yeah, I just want to make sure I get the use of this resin before it all, I'll just have to mass varnish over these, so I'm not going to be able to get them in perfect. Clean off the excess, just so it's not bulking up. Get rid of that tissue on it. Don't want tissue trapped inside it. Yeah, give that a little roll around to make sure it gets everywhere it needs to. And then, right, last bit. Mel's making mistakes. Mel's making a mess.
It's always the finishing touches that are the most hairy, aren't they? You know,
Yeah.
it's like just right at the very end.
Especially when you're working with resin in this sort of situation.
Yeah.
You know, because it drips. You're trying to do quite precision placements. So, do those there.
I wonder if you could use like a pipette or something like that.
You could, but the problem is trying to get it up into the pipette.
Yeah, because the resin's thick.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Right, so that's that one done. I'll come along and squidge those out in a second. I just need to do the chords first.
Right.
So we'll throw some on here. Just a couple of little bits on here. I think we only need one. A little bit there. Yeah, on this one. Yeah, I'll put a little bit there. Over here on this one, there's a good puddle there.
You don't put too much in because you might get trench foot.
True right, mate. Trench foot's horrible.
I believe so, yeah.
I had it when I was in Germany.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Bloody skin peeling off. It's horrible stuff. I'll be back with you guys in just a second. Just let me do my bits. Mel's got to do his resin pours. Oh, a bit too much there, but we'll sort that out. Put another spot. Let's do a little trail there.
I've drilled into me when I was a young lad that you look after your feet.
Oh God, yeah. God, yeah.
My dad being in the army, he was fanatical about looking after your feet.
Rightly so.
Oh yeah, you can't do much without feet, can you?
Well, your shoes get. I mean, if your feet get screwed in the army, you're screwed.
Yeah, I can't walk, run, you can't move. Yeah.
Oh, you're a casualty then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That'll be enough. Let's get a cheap brush. That's a disposable. Let's just start spreading these about a bit.
Well, that's a clever idea.
Yeah, what it'll do is it'll give me a wet look around the puddle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the depth in the actual puddle.
Right in the centre, yeah. How long does that take to dry?
It'll be dry by, tomorrow morning.
No, that's pretty quick then.
Yeah. Well, like I say, the thing is, you've got to get moving on it.
Yeah.
Before it sort of sets.
Yeah.
I've got about 30 minutes working time in total. And I don't mind where I've gone over because, like I say, I know just a touch of matte varnish tomorrow, and that will be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Let's put some around here as well, in there, because it would be a bit wet round there, wouldn't it?
Funny how sometimes things that you don't plan could be like happy accidents, can't they? You know,
oh God, yeah.
Work best than you could have planned.
Yeah, when you make the screw up and it's like, oh, actually, I planned to do that.
Yeah, it's always a nice moment when that happens, isn't it?
It always is, mate. Right, so yeah, just drop that down. That needs to self-level. Yeah, around to this one. I will be back with you guys in a second. Just let me do my resin. That one's done. That one. And we can put some down in there as well. Just generally in the bottom of it.
It's good because you have a nice contrast between the matte areas and the shiny resin when it dries. Yeah, it would dry shiny.
That's why I've had to leave it to this stage, because you can't put it on before you do the matting. Right, so that one's, we could do with dragging that up a bit. Yeah, that's leveling quite nicely now.
Oh, yeah. That's looking good.
And then just in there. And then just this one, and They're done. Well, apart from coming back and doing that matting. But it happens. Right, let's just spread that resin out on that. So when I mat it, it goes down nice. Right, let's drop that out there. It's quite nice because with the resin being water, it naturally pools where it needs to pool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's something a lot of beginners wouldn't think of doing, isn't it?
Spreading the resin out.
That final touch, yeah.
Yeah, what you call it? But if you don't, the viscosity of the resin keeps it as a puddle.
Right, yes.
Yeah, and it holds it together and it gives it lips up.
Like a lump.
Yeah, so you need to drag the edges out just to break down the water tension on those edges or the resin tension. Right, so it can actually just sit.
Yeah, so
you know what I mean?
Tease it out like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Just makes it look a lot more realistic.
It really does, yeah, it really works well.
You know, and because it's watery, you can literally force it into where it would be watery.
Yeah.
We hope. This is one of those moments where I look at it, it's like one slip here, one cock up, and
weeks of work.
The illusion is gone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the finishing touches are always there, like I say, most hairy, yeah.
Right, just these two to do, and then.
So like me, once I was painting a sky on a big canvas.
Yeah.
It took me about 10 hours to do it, solid 10 hours of work. It was in the summer. I had all the windows open for some fresh air. And I just finished it. I sat down to admire what I'd done, and a blue bottle flew in and went straight in the middle of it.
Oh!
I got stuck in the wet paint. So I had to get a blade and peel it off.
Oh, the worst one was when I used to work at home in the kitchen. And if the kids had come through, and they could make such a mess as they came through.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd be literally like, something's wet, and be like, right, everyone's banned from walking through the kitchen for the next hour.
Yeah. I had a cat who was banned from my studio because of the fur gets on the paint and everything. You know, the cat dander is terrible stuff. It floats around in the air. It's lighter than air. You know, so it kind of floats around on the air currents.
I've got a mate, in what you call it? Right, that brush is knackered. Right, done that one. I've done that one. I've done that one. Spread that out a little bit more there. Right. Oh, fingers crossed Mel hasn't screwed it, eh?
Yeah. Looking good, actually. Well, that dry, shiny as that, or will it dull down? Or
no, it'll dry as shiny as that. It will dry like glass. This is the same stuff that I put in the ocean on my map.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
so it will dry exactly the same.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so we'll leave just a minute. If I do this, then when I pull it out of the plastic cup, I end up with like a brown resin cup. I'm slowly collecting them. I'm going to use it for an installation.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Well, that's my excuse anyway. Oh, right. Oh, I've got resin all over my fingers. Paint done. Done with that. So that can go in there. Thank you. That can go in there. They're knackered. That's knackered. They need to move up there. Yeah, it's actually looking all right, isn't it?
There's a very good soap you can get called Masters soap. You ever come across that?
Yeah, I've got some Masters somewhere.
Yeah. Green stuff. It's very good. You won't get anything off your hands. That one.
I use Masters brush soap.
It gets paint off your clothes as well, that stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
Failing that, Ice Pro. Right, I am back. I'm looking at the comments. If you've got any questions on anything I've just done, it is a bit warm in here, isn't it? If you've got a question on anything I've done, now's the time to ask it, guys. Let's see what they've got to say. Yeah, I hope it comes out all right. It's one of those things that until you actually do it, I might have to put a little bit of gloss on it tomorrow and patch it, but it's looking okay. I hate this stage. Guys. But I've done as much as I can do. Now all I've got to do is wait till morning. It is going to end up looking like that, and I think, I'm not sure. I might have to go in with a bit of gloss varnish and blend the edges a little bit more.
So would the gloss varnish be not quite as shiny as the resin?
No, the gloss varnish will it will still be shiny, but it'll be thinner.
Ah.
Yeah,
Okay,
so whereas this looks like blobs sitting on the dirt a little, I'll be able to feather the edges.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to wait for this to dry first.
Yeah, I've got to wait for this to dry, but I mean, effectively, it's as good as done. And the gloss varnish, I mean, that'll dry in half an hour, so I can do that in the morning.
Yes.
Once this is dry.
Yeah.
Because like I say, I've got to go over it with some matte anyway. So we'll have to see what we can do.
So you varnish.
Oh, you're still here? We were talking. Yes, I am still here. Mel, did you put the special trench part on order, or did you skip it entirely? I skipped it entirely, to be truthful. Did I forget to press record on that? You muppet. See, this is what happens when I get in a rush.
Yeah.
Never mind. I've gone through the process. I'll be able to take photos. That's enough. Yeah, because like I say, I've covered this in other videos. Right, they can go down there. That's my hands clean. And Mel's done. Like I say, just varnish now. A little bit of varnishing just to blend the edges, I reckon. Because it goes from wet to matte really quickly. Right. Do you know what I mean? With the transitions.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think a little bit more just to blend them is something that I need to do.
What scale is this?
It's 28mm, so what's that? Is it 156? What materials do you plan to do for the exploded bits? There are no exploded bits. It's all done. That's all watchable. That's all melted, washed, dissolved down into the ground and gone all muddy. Are you going to take the camera off and show us your work? I can do that. So let me open this door a bit and let some heat out.
It's lovely. We'll match the match studio. I get it takes me a day to make this one.
It's alright, when you get the pressure job on,
yeah,
I start sweating a bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, cool it down a little. There we go. Right, they're going to want to see what the work looks like. So, let's rearrange these into some sort of meaningful order.
I think the barbed wire is amazing. It really does look like barbed wire miniature, doesn't it?
It does. It's turned out good, mate. It really has. I'm quite chuffed with it.
No.
Yeah, I reckon half an hour tomorrow and I'll have this finished with the last touch-ups.
It fits together seamlessly, doesn't it?
It does. It's hard as nails, you can touch it.
Yeah.
It's designed to be played on, mate, so there we go. That one goes on there. And yeah, I think with a little bit, just a touch of varnish, varnish, just to blend some edges in and that sort of stuff, and it'll be all right. I think the problem is we've got too much of a contrast between the wet and the dry. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So a little bit of just to stretch it out a bit, and we should be all right. Yeah.
It's looking good. It's looking very nice.
Right, can I jump in there? Because they're going to want me to grab that camera and show them what I've done.
Every time I see that, it reminds me of the Channel Islands. So if you've ever been
there,
Guernsey.
I haven't been there, but that's where I took the photo reference from.
Oh, is it really? Yeah.
Yeah, what do you call it?
The Germans built some amazing stuff on Guernsey.
Oh God, yeah, they made it into a fortress, didn't they?
And it's so plugged into the ground rock of the island that they couldn't demolish it.
Yeah. It's the same with the flak towers.
Yeah.
The old flak towers. They were so solidly built that they still exist today because they're just too big of a job to take down.
Yeah. They reckon in Guernsey that they could actually cause structural damage to the island itself if they tried to knock these things down.
Really?
Yeah. Yes. Is that bad?
You grab your chair over there. Right. Do all the studios have a window you can open? Most studios have windows here, don't they? There's a few that don't.
There's a handful though. Yeah. Those are the ones that got taken last, I think.
Yeah. Ironically, I boarded my windows up. Yeah, but I like to control my light because obviously if I'm working on a terrain project, through the day the light changes and it goes darker. And so what I don't want to do is every time I switch my camera on, have to go in and sort of do my settings.
Right, reset the camera every time for the light. Yeah.
Yeah, whereas if I board this up and it's just this light, then I know my cameras are set. All I've got to do is switch them on.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now the heat, there's no pleasing Mel. I know. Annalay, hello. I wish it were a different angle so I could see what bit they're doing. Well, I'll show you what we're doing. Yeah, there's the trenches. Let me just take this off here and we'll give you a little tour. Now, remember, there is a little bit of glossing and matting doing just to blend in the water effects. Okay. In fact, it could do with blending in a bit better there. Should have used a brush for that. Yeah, so now let's pull out so you can get a decent look of the colours. There we go. There's the trenches. You see all the mud work. Yeah. And all the way up there. Now you can see the water in the trenches, and you can see what I mean about what I'm saying is about blending in with a bit of gloss in between the edges. Yeah, because it's a bit one or the other, and we need a little bit of contrast in there, don't we?
Definitely brings it to life, though, doesn't it? The sense
oh God, yeah. It adds to it, but it needs to be blended in. Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to a foliage and all that sort of stuff, this stuff is rock hard, you know.
Yeah, it looks soft, doesn't it?
It does.
You could put your finger in it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's completely well sealed. Right, is that going to show? No, we're not going to get it. There we are. So, it's coming together, shall I say. Right, put that there.
It's looking really good. I can see with like a flickering light on it. You know, like we discussed last week on camera, yeah.
It would be good.
Use of coloured lights can really light something up as well, literally.
He boarded up his windows when he first moved in. Not well planned. Well, I actually wanted the window for the extraction for get the what you call it, but it was bloody cold.
Yeah.
Because I've got one of the old windows.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll tell you what, it was cold in here with one of those. We have forts all over the Swedish south coast today that were made to fend the German invasion. Used to break into those and play as a wee lad. We've got them around the south coast of Britain.
Yes. Yeah.
Odd defences and stuff like that. That's still knocking around.
Yeah, some old Nissan huts still around as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The old airfields that are disused now, but they're still there.
Yeah.
Places here and there. Yeah.
Right, I'm hoping that this resin isn't too deep that it won't cure. For the nightmare. Oh, what about that? I'd love to see it under a macro lens. Well, I mean, once I get the photos done, and at the end of the video, there'll be plenty of decent photos of it that you can have a nose at, guys. So don't worry about that. There's plenty of that coming up.
Have to bring like a 35mm camera in.
A proper camera.
With a zoom lens and everything. Yeah.
Right, we've got PayPals we've got to do. I do need to blend that with gloss. Looking at it, the more I look at it, the more I realise that I need to.
Need to finesse it a bit, maybe.
Yeah, I think what you call it, adding the water, it's there's no half measures. You've got to do it properly.
Yeah.
Or not, I think, with a muddy trench. It just annoys me that it's on a hill, so it wouldn't be that muddy.
Right.
But, you know what I mean? It's showing the techniques.
Yeah, the temptation would be to, because it's water and reflecting what's above its sky, the temptation would be to put a bit of blue in there. But of course, because it's only shallow, it wouldn't be deep enough to reflect the sky.
Yeah. And also, you get the mixture.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be clear water.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because it would be trench water, wouldn't it?
Right. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. So that's pretty opaque. I mean, the moment you mix mud into water, you know, it loses its translucence very quickly.
Yeah, it's reflective.
Yeah.
Right.
I've heard that those Scandinavian bunkers were a bit wrongly built, Oscar. The garrison would die of carbon monoxide poisoning in an hour if they actually saw battle. Whoa! What was the most annoying part of it, Mel? To be truthful, this bit, the resin. Yeah, because I know it doesn't go with the piece properly. Because I know, you know, muddy trenches aren't at the top of the hill, they're at the bottom of the hill. So it sort of conflicts with me on trying to get it look right, which is why after I poured the resin in, it was like, I'm probably going to need to go in with a bit of gloss and blend this out a bit, to be truthful.
It's like the perennial question, how do you know when it's finished?
Yeah, yeah, very much so.
And that can be a tricky thing to decide, actually, when something is finished, you know. you can overwork it.
Yeah, very much. Like I say, I'm only going to come in and put a bit of gloss on it, see what I can do. Yeah, and then we'll take it from there. Have I got gloss? I've got matte, that's set, that'll do. The matting element's set in the bottom, so it's just left with gloss.
I've got some gloss varnishing out if you want. If you haven't got any, I've got some.
To be truthful, I've probably got some, mate, if I go looking.
But I'm not sure, I can't remember now if mine is acrylic, then it's probably Damar resin.
To be truthful, I'll have gloss varnish that I can put through the airbrush. So I'll just be able to
phase it out.
Yeah, and blend it and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
A bit like I did with the mud and that sort of stuff. Right, I do see that a few of you wonderful people have sent PayPals. So, shall we? Right, I see 2. Right. From our George M. George M sent us 10 nuggets. Let's get him on the screen. Check if he sent us a message. No, just 10 nuggets from George. Thank you, George. Thank you, buddy. And also, we've got 5 nuggets from Pete S. More sweetie money. Perfect. Thank you, Pete. My sweetie jar is getting low. It's because everyone keeps visiting me and robbing them. Security, they don't come into this building unless they're nipping up here for a sweetie. There we go. We've got him on the screen. Thank you, guys. Is Fred all healed up? How are you doing?
I'm half done.
Half done?
I'm half done, yeah. Half baked.
Half baked?
Yeah, I've still got to have the other hand on, but thank you for asking.
Well, that's us done. Like I say, a bit more gloss in, I think. I'm going to have to. I might. Should we just mix up a little bit more resin and just brush it on now and get it done? Because at least that way it'll be done for the morning.
Will that work?
Yeah, I can mix resin into that. There's no, I can do that, and we'll just put a thin coat and just brush it so it's really nice and thin and wet looking. Right, in for a penny, in for a pound. Let's do that. So back to me resin mixes. 2 cups, scales. Yeah, throw that on there. My resins, they'll still be roughly, they should still be good. We don't need that much. I've thrown my paint away, so it'll have to be clear resin.
The beauty of something like this is if you put a backdrop behind it, because it's a hell,
yeah,
it would work really well.
They do various backdrops with the railway community.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and I often look and think about grabbing a couple of those. Oh no, a bit more. I don't need that much. 20 grams.
If you're using a backdrop, obviously you'd have to light it sideways on, otherwise you get the glare off the backdrop.
Yeah. Or use a diffuse light.
Oh yeah, diffuser, yeah.
I've got a diffuser down there. I've got studio lights down there. It's just when you set them up in here, you get blinded. What's your plan for next week? Oh, next week is Easter. So I'm not quite sure. I will be in the studio. I will be doing terrain. I have got projects to do. But to be truthful, I've been that focused on getting this done that I haven't really been thinking what's next. I just want to get this done, get the videos on Patreon. Yeah, just get, secure the bills, and then just crack on from there. But we have got the medieval series to do, and I've got stuff half finished for that, so I'll probably get those finished and get cracked on with that. Right, lollipop stick, and I'm probably going to need another brush, aren't I? Yeah, there you go, grab that one. That's the benefit, isn't it? Acrylic brushes. Yeah. Yeah, £1.50 for 20.
Wow, that's good. Where'd you get this from?
eBay.
Oh, right, yeah.
So.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I thought so. You could just put gloss on the other areas as well, so it looks like it's just rained. Yeah, that's right. I don't really want to go into having to put gloss on the mud on the top of the trenches, because then it becomes a task across the whole piece and what's wet, what's dry. If we stick with the bottom of the trenches, I can blend in a lot more resin into it and give it that wet look now.
Yes, water always tends to find its own level, doesn't it? So it's usually at the lowest points.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like I say, the problem with it looking right is you would never get water in a trench like this on a hill, you know, because it would drain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the problem is that, you know, I've had to do it, show you the techniques. Fred, I realise your expertise is in paint, but do you have a preferred media, i.e. acrylics versus oil, brush and knife?
Yes, I prefer to oil paint with brushes. I brought this up actually because this is my colour chart.
Oh, that's your. Ooh.
These are the colours I use for.
How many different browns?
There's quite a lot of different colours there.
Indeed.
Yeah, they've added to this range actually since this was printed. But I use these Dutch oil paints,
right?
Called Old Holland, which they've been making, believe it or not, since 1664.
1664.
Yeah. So this is actually the oldest colour paint factory in Europe. It's not older. So oil paint, and I like to tend to use kind of sable brushes because I get a very fine finish with sable brushes.
They're nice hair. We have stable brushes. Kolinsky
sable, yeah, they're the very best. Yeah, the red sables are Kolinsky, yeah.
Yeah, we use stable brushes, Kolinskys, with our painting.
Yes. They're actually the guard hairs from a small ferret-like animal.
Are they? Is that where they're from?
Yeah, the tail and guard hairs, yeah. So I don't believe they actually kill the animal to make the brush, actually. I think it's just the guard hairs that they shed.
I think my Kolinskys are watchable at home. I've only got one. Well, as model painters, we don't have many of them. We have like, you know, one or two really nice brushes.
Yeah, it tends to be very expensive, actually.
Oh, God, yeah. Right. Let me sort this out. See, I've just got rosin on there now. Right, so let's really wet this up and give it a wet look along the centre of the trench, if possible. Yeah, because that way it looks a little bit more realistic. Yeah, that's looking better already.
Yeah, so there's less of a jump between.
Yeah, that's the issue. It's not a matter that there's dry bits on it. It's the matter that there's that it jumped, like you say, from wet to dry so quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the moment we've just done that,
those look better actually.
Yeah, immediately it looks proper. There, see, happy melt now. Right, on to the next one. I do love resin. You get some wonderful effects with it.
There's some very interesting things with resin nowadays. Have you seen Asher's work?
Yeah, Asher downstairs. Asher's a resin artist. And if you don't know what a resin artist is, basically a resin artist is someone who makes pictures out of resin, but they mix inks with it and various things, and they get it to explode and all sorts, don't they?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah.
You know, literally, like you get this explosion of the colours and within the resin, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, once it's on the surface, you can tip the surface, tilt it. You can move it around by without using a brush, just by moving it by its own, osmosis.
Yeah,
tilting the surface,
Yeah, that's looking loads better, mate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this was the right thing to do. Sometimes you aren't sure, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We might as well just give these planks a bit of a coat because they would be wettish.
Yeah, and again, because it's a low point, isn't it, in the terrain, so.
And I'll get some on here. Yeah, this will be done relatively quickly.
I think you need to put a bit of rust on your corrugated iron then. Now you've done that.
Don't you start.
That's the trouble with this kind of thing. One thing leads to another, doesn't it?
It does.
You do one thing and I think, uh-oh, how am I going to do this?
I hate it when I do a particular bit of shading on a piece. Yeah, and I'll do a bit of shading on a piece. Then I realise I've got to carry that across the entire piece.
Right, yeah. So
you know what I mean? And it's like, oh no.
Bit of a labour of love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I've got into situations like that with painting sometimes where you just think, I'll just change just this little bit here.
And then the next thing you know.
Everything is then out of sync with the rest of it. So, yeah.
Now the plus side, giving it a coat of resin, Yeah, it'll make the surface tough as hell.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, yeah, it's rock hard stuff, isn't it? Very dry.
Yeah, so I've got no fears of the surface getting chipped or anything like that.
That was developed in the 1930s originally.
What was?
Acrylic resin.
Was it?
Yeah.
What for?
I really can't remember actually, just as synthetic material, but because the war happened, I'd stopped the development of it till the 1950s.
Right.
When it really took off, and in America, Liquitex started making acrylic resin paints.
Right. Question. I tried to make slush for my snowboard from snowflock, bicarb, white gesso paint, and brown ink, but it dried up to look like poop. Well, you put brown ink in it, mate.
Too much brown ink, yeah.
There's no need for brown to be in that mix whatsoever.
Most snow, actually, because it reflects the sky, because it's white, it reflects the sky, and usually the sky is kind of bluish. So you'd be better off putting the tinted blue in the white, just a tiny.
It's what I did on my on that mat board, wasn't it? After you suggested that, and the snow looked mint on that.
Yeah, because snow's never white; it always reflects whatever colour the sky is. If it's grey, then you've got grey snow. If it's in the sunset, the snow looks pink. So it reflects whatever colour the sky is, basically. It's always important to remember that, yeah.
But yeah, Westy, get rid of the brown ink out of it. That's why it's looking like poop, mate. Because you made it like poop. Yeah, much better. Much better. And now Mel is feeling all relieved again. Gets you though, doesn't it? When you have problems like these and you're like, that doesn't look right.
I just noticed you've got some stores and provisions here as well.
Oh yeah, there's barrels and all sorts around it. There's binoculars left on places and all sorts.
Yeah.
Let's get some more in there. Because that will be drawn onto there. Right, just that one, those two to do, and we are looking good. Hey, James. I now have a lot of puff all over my test pieces. Well, at least they're test pieces, mate. Could have been worse. Could have been a lot worse. Right, let's get this one done. It's gone from, I'll just touch up a little bit here and a little bit there to, right, just plaster it on, make it wet ground, because it works.
What you could do with your brown sooty snow is just get a brush with some white, with a slight amount of cobalt or a slightly reddish blue in there, just a touch, and then just kind of scrape it over, dry brush it over the area, so some of the brown underneath shows through. If you know what I mean. If you get the paint quite thick and you kind of dry brush it on a regular surface, it'll just skip all the holes and everything, so it'll leave those brown, but the white bits will be on the top. That could work for you.
Yeah. There you go, Westy. As a solution.
Well, it's not lost.
It's never lost with terrain because you can always just spray paint it black and start again.
Yeah, you can always redeem whatever you've done. Yeah, or work with what you've done and just build up on that.
Yeah. This bit's here. Yeah, it's applying a lot thinner now. It's looking a lot better.
Oh yeah.
And the pools are blended in. Do you know what I mean? They actually look like proper puddles now, rather than being blodges of resin on a relatively dry. Problem was, I hit it with a matte varnish first, wasn't it? A matte, matte will make it look like not water.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Matte always makes it look very dry.
Yeah, it absorbs the light. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I say, adding this in. Yeah, it's actually paying dividends.
Oh, that's working well on the duck boards.
Yeah, it looks right.
Yeah.
And once it settles down and sinks in, yeah, we're getting that thing where we're getting a slight pooling towards the middle of the trench.
Yeah.
And a damp look at the edge.
Yeah.
Which is what we get. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It's all down to observation of just how it would be in nature.
Yeah, it is. I mean, at the end of the day, you're essentially, I'm doing what you do, but in 3D.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
It's like painted sculpture.
Yeah, exactly. So it's challenging, but the key to getting it right is you know, see what the real world is like, you know, and just mirror that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you can mirror that, then, you know, you're pretty much there. Sorry, I'm not chatting that much. I'm just sort of really perhaps I should have done this before the live show. And then I could have done something that I can focus more on.
And it would have been, here's one I prepared earlier.
Yeah, look at what I did earlier. The good old, here's what I prepared earlier when you didn't see me screaming, going, how am I going to do this? It doesn't look right. Yeah, there we go.
I think whenever you're doing anything creative like this, your heart's always in your mouth until it's finished. But that's part of the kind of like the.
Do you know what? I don't like my pieces until they're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really struggle with liking my own pieces. Yeah, too critical. You know what I mean?
I think I tend to be pretty much the same as well, because once it's finished, then you're reviewing.
Yeah. And I think the first thing you do when you review is you look for what you did wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that general process doesn't do you any favours.
You can get to the point of diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Where you don't touch anything anymore because, you know.
It's not going to turn out how I want. It's, you know, be problematic. But I think over time, what you tend to do is you resolve the issues there. You're like, well, actually, it isn't as bad as I thought it was. And then when the client's actually happy with it, that's always right. Okay, that's a weight off.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you also have to remember you can always change, review, repaint, rework. If the worst comes to worst, you would get a knife and scrape everything off.
Well, you can. We can't.
It'll be a bit more difficult for you.
Bit hard for us. Right, let me do this one.
But it's liberating when you're working to know that it's not written in stone, so you can change
it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always said, you know, you can fix mistakes up until the last.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Once you reach the last stage, then generally, if a mistake's there, you're not going to be able to do much about it by that point. But that being said, you know, this is proof of the pudding that that's not true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can still crack on. You can still work things out. There we go. Get you there. Get you there. Can we get a decent amount of resin there? Yeah, we can. Make it a bit puddly. There we go. And I think that I'm happy with that.
It's looking very nice.
Yeah, that's better. And it saves me glossing it tomorrow. All I've got to do is wait for that bit of resin there to dry. Just gloss over that and a couple of other little points, and I am laughing. Hey!
Kez did you proud of the sandbags?
She did. She did me very proud.
Very good. Yeah.
Oh, right. And that's it. That is it generally done. It's looking nice.
Yes, it's looking very good.
Yeah, it works better now we've done that.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, the only thing that's sort of bugging me now is I'm looking at the step.
The step?
The fire step, at how dry it is.
Oh, right. Yeah. I guess that would be dependent on if anybody's been standing on it recently or not. Yeah.
See, it should be. No, that'll do. Call it quits where it is. That's how you do the water. I'm not going over the fire step with resin as well.
Yeah, well, they would dry out.
Yeah, you wouldn't get the pooling.
Yeah.
I'm happy with where it is. I've been working on some elven terrain, but I found it difficult due to the complexity of elvish aesthetics. Any idea for aesthetics that can look good without getting overly technical? Right. Art Nouveau and Art... What's the other one?
Art Deco.
Right. Art Deco is dwarves. Art Nouveau is elves. Go and have a look at simple Art Nouveau designs, mate. Yeah, and you'll get really simple designs you can take and incorporate into your buildings from that.
Yeah, Art Nouveau is very kind of like organic.
Yeah.
Tendrils, like plants.
Yeah.
Plant forms.
Elvish is very organic as well, the scene, whereas, you know, Dwarven is seen as very angular.
Art Deco is all straight lines.
Exactly, so it fits.
Yeah.
So that fits. Will Fred paint the banners and works of art in your castle, Mel? I don't know. I do not know the answer to that question.
You've got some miniature works of art for me to work on.
Could be. Right, we've got a couple more PayPals.
I can do some mini Rembrandts.
Mini Rembrandts. See, that's bugging me now, that 5-step, but no, I've got to leave it. I've just got to turn around and say, look, you know, leave it.
If there's any water on the 5-step at all, it would only be just very, very kind of sporadic.
Yeah.
And just a very, very lightest of touches.
It's one of those things that if I start it, then I've got to do it on all the 5 steps. Then I've got to do it on. Then I'll have to consider doing it on there. Then if I consider doing it on there, then I'll have to consider doing it on. You know what I mean?
There's no end to it, is there?
Yeah, I mean, if it was a muddy board, you know, it'd be fine because I'll be applying it all over. But it's this situation of, well, if I start applying it on here, how far down does it go?
Sure.
Do the craters need it in? And
I think the logic of just making the lowest points wet, it makes perfect geological sense. Because the lowest points would remain wet. Anything that's elevated like the 5-step or the terrain itself would have drainage.
Yeah.
So it would dry out. Yeah.
So like I say, it's horses and courses, guys. You know what I mean? Oh, you could be fancy with painted tapestries and painted walls. I could. So that one goes over there. That one goes that, or the other side. But lines up to it there. Don't want to push them too close because the resin's still drying.
Oh, right, yeah. There's glue.
Yeah, exactly. They'll bond.
Yeah,
that one can go there. I've just got a couple of little places to touch up with a bit of matte varnish when I come in. Yeah, I mean, tonight's video editing. So I'll be editing all these videos up for you guys, and then you'll have all the instructions on how Mel kind of screwed this. There we go. I can go on there. Yeah, and I can go there. And there we have it. Yeah, that's nice. Really nice. That's nice. Phew!
That contrast works really well. Yeah.
It does. It does.
That's something a beginner would never think of doing.
What?
Putting acrylic resin and varnish on the lowest points like that to make them look wet.
That's kind of what I'm here for.
Yeah, it's definitely a finessing touch that makes all the difference, isn't it?
It is. Like I say, I think I'd rather do a proper wet, muddy trench, or, do you know what I mean? Or a dry trench. This is a bit weird for me because I know it's wrong in nature. But I've had to do it because it's the techniques.
Yeah, it's like
it's
a demo piece, isn't
it? Yeah, very much so. So I've had to take the hit. You know, but like I say, it'd be nice to actually do it in proper context. Switch cams. Go on, I'll switch cams for you. There you go. If you can see that. Right, I have a couple more PayPals to do. Internal walls of castles would normally be plastered and painted, or at least whitewashed. I've been playing a lot of Kingdom Come Deliverance lately. Well, not a lot, but I've just got into it. But the architecture in that is brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a computer game, like a role-playing computer game. Yeah, but what they did is they got 20 historical advisors on board with the development, and they developed it around a true story of the history in Eastern Europe, in this country in Eastern Europe.
Yes.
And so it's really immersive. And from my point of view, because all the buildings are historically designed,
right? Yeah.
I'm wandering around them, taking good looks. You know what I mean? Like, right, I need it like that. I need that there. Oh, yeah. I was wandering around this one castle. I want to build that castle. I want to build that castle. Right, so let's get these PayPals done. Thank you, guys. And also to go. Come on, refresh.
Once visited a castle in the Czech Republic that was very strange, just outside of Prague.
Yeah.
And they built it in the middle of a marsh. Totally pointless place to put a castle. It wasn't a defensible position for any reason. There was no town nearby. There was no road nearby. It was in the middle of a marsh. And the weirdest thing about it was all the defences of the castle all pointed in.
Who were they trying to keep in? That's dodgy as hell.
To this day, nobody knows what it's there for.
Yeah.
Castle Huzzah, it's called.
Quick one from our Braggy. Yeah, quick 10 nuggets. Yeah, always a pleasure to help a fellow artist. Keep the faith and believe in yourself. Braggy. P.S. Having a date night. We'll watch in the morning. Thank you, Braggy, and I hope your date night was good, matey. Let's get Braggy on the screen.
You're right what you say, confidence is everything in creativity.
It is.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it was very much like, what do you call it? The moment I'd done that little bit, and it confirmed that, yeah, this is right. Bang, straight on. I know what I'm doing.
You're cooking with gas at that
point,
like,
literally like, right, I know what I'm doing. I'm happy. On I go.
Yeah.
Right, and we've got one more from Marcus N. What's he said? Happy Easter. Hi, also Fred. Yeah, 20 nuggets. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, throw Marcus N. Let's get Marcus on the screen. Thank you, guys. Remember, if you do pledge during a live show, you make me very happy. If we get to 3 figures, I do a little dance. Yeah, so, nice one. Thank you, buddy. It is appreciated. And with the next one, we're going to have to enable scroll. It's getting serious, guys. Right, what are we on? We're on 1:45. We're finishing at 9:30, aren't we? Yeah, so we've got 45 minutes. Now, I'm done. I'm genuinely done. I'm cleaned up. My trenches look lovely. Still bugging me.
Fantastic.
Still bugging me wet on the top of a hill, but I'm living with it. I am going to live with it. I'm just going to roll with it. Yeah. I just need to make sure that me resin inside me puddles does stick.
I think the idea of the drainage is really good because, like I say, there's a contrast between the wet and the dry areas.
Yeah.
If you put it all over, you'd lose it.
Yeah. I think I would.
Yeah, it'd be too much. That's looking very nice. Very good. We needed some wargaming in there, figures.
Yeah, we do. We do. I had my chin bits on it earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were looking nice. Yeah. Aren't you putting resin in the crater pots, Mel? No, the resin is purely at the bottom of the trenches. I don't want to go watering up. It's one of these things that if I do it, I've got to do it across pretty much everything. You know what I mean? And it wasn't something that I wanted to do on the build anyway. It was a request from you guys. You know, and so it doesn't feel quite right to me. So I don't want to extend the effect any further than I have to for the tutorial. You know what I mean?
Plus you risk it looking too slick as well. Yeah. If you do overdo it, yeah.
Also, George, still got the bomb blast bits to do, right? No, not doing them. I'm doing what's good, dissolved mud. Yeah, you only get bomb blast and rubble either after an initial impact or if the impact hits particularly rocky or concrete ground. If an artillery shell hits normal earth, yeah, you'll get a big explosion. Some earth will go up. A lot of the earth in the crater will, the actual, where the hole is, a lot of that is actually earth compacted down by the explosion, not blown out. Yeah, a lot of the earth is built up on the rim, so very little earth actually goes up in debris. And the other thing to remember is, when it's been exploded, the debris is loose earth. Yeah? It's spread over a large area, which means 1 or 2 rains and it's gone. Yeah. You know, it's literally washed away, and all you're left with is like a brown stain. And I'm saying this from experience. You know, I spent enough time on the ranges covering like live fire artillery range shoots. Yeah. To have seen this countless times and to know what craters look like. So no, I'm not adding blast rubble. The other reason I'm not adding blast rubble is, like I say, you get blast rubble pretty at the start, you know, just after an initial attack. Now, in the case of this, I've got places where we've got parts of the trench that have been fixed after the attack, so the timelines wouldn't fit. You know, you wouldn't have rubble round a fixed trench, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you're going on with like something like a sustained bombardment day after day after day, that would churn up the earth, and you know, it'd be a bit hellish. But this isn't that. You know, this is very much a defended position. Maybe it's had an artillery strike, maybe it's been an air strike before they go in. You know, it's not no man's land. I've heard a wonderful story about the guys. Did I tell you about the guys in no man's land? No. Yeah, the wilderness warriors, they called them, the deserters from each army. Right. Yeah. They deserted into no man's land in the World War One. Yeah. Yeah. And they lived in no man's land, basically scouring rations, anything they needed from the dead bodies. Yeah. And they lived as a community of all different, the Germans and the English deserters. Yeah. Lived together in the same community. Right. Scavenging each other's bodies and that sort of stuff to survive. Yeah,
I've not heard about that one. No. Wow, that's interesting. I did come across an interesting story about it during the Battle of the Bulge in the Ardennes. and it was Christmas Day, and the Americans were promised Christmas dinner.
Right.
And sure enough, the commiserate van, the lorry turned up with the Christmas dinner, but they were under 88mm fire from the Germans.
Yeah.
They were being shelled periodically. They were being shelled, so they couldn't go to one place and have their dinner, their Christmas dinner.
Too concentrated.
Doshed out because if one shell hit, it would be a disaster. So what they did was they spread the food stations out along about a half-mile line.
And everyone went, I'll have my potatoes from here, and I'll have my meat from here.
So you got your potatoes in your tin. You had to walk about 400 yards to get the gravy on that, and another 400 yards to get the meat, and another 400 yards to get your bit of sauce on there and a couple of sprouts, and then another 400 yards, they put a bit of Christmas pudding on the top of the whole thing, and then some bloody custard over the entire thing. And it must have been absolutely disgusting, but they said it was absolutely delicious because out in the cold, you got to eat hot food, So but they had to spread out the feed stations because of the artillery. Yeah.
It's crazy the things you have to do, but no, there isn't. That's why I'm not doing debris on it. A couple of people are asking, are you doing burnt barrels and all this sort of stuff? No. Yeah, very much like Fred said earlier, when it comes to this sort of stuff, you can spend a phenomenal amount of time going into crazy detail. This is a tutorial piece on how to teach you how to make trenches. Yeah, yes, I could go into all sorts of detail, but you don't need it. There's enough in this tutorial piece for you to make pretty much the majority of the trenches you want. And it, without being braggy, yeah, if you can get it to this stage that I've got mine to, yeah, then you're smart enough to be able to figure out how to do your own debris and burning barrels. You know what I mean? You don't need me for that. Okay? My job is to get you to this stage. Yeah?
The nuts and bolts.
Yeah, well, the core things that make it work, making it modular, making it playable. Yeah, that's the key things. I mean, the actual model making isn't hard. No. It's only various paints. It's only, it's balsa and Daz modelling putty. Yeah. The challenge is when it's all done, can you actually use it?
Yeah. And having the vision to visualise it as well.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah. Do you ever use like photographs of battle scenes and
I cluster images together. So I find lots of nice things that I'd like to model, and I make a composite out of them.
Right.
Yeah. It's difficult to model realistic things because they don't work for wargaming. Either the scales are too wrong, or rooms just aren't functional. Once you scale it down, these trenches have had to be enlarged. Because all of my men may only be like a quarter of an inch wide, shoulder to shoulder. Well, they've got an inch base on them.
Right. Yes.
So I have to modify for that functionality. And then if you look at certain bunkers and rooms, there's no way you'd fit models in it if you went to scale and that sort of stuff. So what you have to do is take elements and combine them. I mean, even the trench design on this isn't a proper trench design. Because the angles would be sharper to stop people shooting up and down the trench.
Yes, you zigzag.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, but realistically, when making wargames terrain, you can't do that in this setting without a lot more depth, because the amount of space you would need to make the zigzags compared to a nice gentle flow line.
Yes, be really wide.
Yeah, I looked at it when I first scaled it up, and it became immediate that if I wanted to do the zigzag trenches like they had on the Western Front, I'd have to give up on everything on the back row. I'd only have, with this piece, I'd only have space for the zigzag trenches and maybe a communications trench going backwards for an inch or two. Because I just need that much room. So I took the decision to make it more of a slopey trench. So if you're standing there, you still can't shoot here. It still blocks line of sight down the trench.
It's waving.
But it's not as aggressive in that as previous ones. Fred, any advice for someone who wants to start painting? What's easiest to work with?
I think oil paint's the easiest thing to work with, quite honest with you, because the open time on it is really huge. So it stays wet for hours. When you're beginning and you're pushing the paint around, that's a big plus, because you don't have to go straight in with a plan and just do it straight away. You can start painting with oil paint. If you don't like it, or you kind of semi-like it, you can scrape some of it off with a knife off the surface while it's still wet, and even when it's semi-dry, and then rework back in there again. So it's very forgiving medium oil paint. So I don't have any shares of the company, but I'd highly recommend these old Holland paints.
How much are they a tube?
They vary actually, because each pigment, because they're pigmented, so the pigments are all different. And there's actually a list in the back of what the pigments are, the chemical composition of the pigments there.
Okay.
So they vary from between about £6 a tube, that's a 40ml tube, all the way up to £50–60 for a 40ml tube.
So on let's say an A4 picture, how much money in paint would you put on an A4 canvas, do you think?
It would really depend on the colours you use. There's such a huge difference in the cost of the colours. You know, the earth colours and the basic, you know, like the umber colours, the raw earth colours are the cheapest, obviously.
Yeah.
So they're just £6 a tube. But then, you know, some of the blues, which are like tin oxides and cobalts and that kind of thing, start to get rather pricey. Think of cobalt.
Yeah.
Use that in armor piercing shells. I mean, it's kind of like a very
it's
expensive mineral, you know.
Yeah, it's not a cheap mineral.
Yeah. So I actually don't use it myself because it is so. It's £60 a tube or something.
Is it?
It's a ridiculous price. Yeah, use a tube in a couple of months, and you know, so I don't use it. But there's other colours you can substitute for those more expensive ones. And most of my colour range is the £6 a tube colours.
Yeah.
I rarely use anything very much more expensive than that. And I don't use a huge palette of colours either. Usually keep it down to about 12 or 15 colours. You can paint most things with 12 or 15 colours.
So you're looking at all the oils you want for pretty much under 100 then?
I'd say so, yeah. So £100 would do it, yeah.
I mean, you've got to remember, getting into oil painting is an investment. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's not just a matter of slapping the oils on, because you've got to understand how you use the canvas and the humidity and all that sort of stuff with oils, haven't you?
Well, you paint on canvas or wood, or, you know, MDF. MDF's very good to paint oil paint on, because it doesn't warp. It stays pretty stable and everything.
Well, for oil painting, warps for hell. You know, we have all sorts of problems with MDF. Catch you later, sister. So yeah, what's your oil paint by the looks of it? That seems to be the recommendation. Any other questions for us while we're just sitting here admiring my trenches and dodging extra jobs you lot are trying to make me do on them? I'm not doing any more work on it, it's done. I'll come in, I'll bring some matte varnishing, yeah, and I'll just do where I've got to touch up where I've made a mistake, yeah, with my resin pour. Yeah, I've got a couple of drips, but I'm not doing any more work on it beyond that, guys. No. Right, Mel mentioned in the video that you make simplified wargaming trench, not a realistic trench, and mentioned the difference. Oh, I have already insane. You know, I've been quite clear on what the purpose of this trench is. I mean, it's not even a World War II or a World War I trench. It's part World War I, part World War II.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't even fit in a particular war. Yeah, it's all about the trench techniques. And also showing, I mean, the videos that I've just done aren't so much about the trench techniques. They're more about realistic colours and realistic groundwork, which you've seen here.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, they're the same colours and the same groundwork I would put on a hill. Yeah, so they're not particularly about the trench. It's the trench we're painting.
Yeah.
But you know, the videos have very much been about the techniques, which is that's what my bag is.
The way that you've got the effect of the mortar or the artillery rounds, the way they've impacted the ground.
Yeah.
Not just the fact that they've made like an indentation, but also you've taken the green away from all around.
Yeah, I've got the mud and the bleed out.
Yeah.
It's what you get, because I mean, you get a load of loose earth at the edge of craters, and then when it starts to rain, it gets, you know, that earth that moves into the crater, and it sort of also moves out into the grass around, and it just stains it brown. You know what I mean? It doesn't kill it; it just stains it all brown. Yeah, and then obviously you get the fading effect. I mean, it's interesting with craters, depending on what munition they're using and what. So I mean, if I remember once we were down at Salisbury on the Rangers, and it was Royal Artillery. Yeah, and it'd been raining for weeks. Yeah, and when these shells went in, it was not hard ground they were hitting. They were hitting boggy ground. Well, the thing is, they penetrated deeper than you'd normally expect. And with it being wet ground isn't compact and hard. It's actually loose. You had the plumes of mud that were going up. I mean, literally, the whole place looked like Apocalypse Now after about an 8-shell volley.
Wow.
I mean, literally, it was just disgusting. It was just browned out.
Yeah.
Could Fred paint an X-wing table? I imagine he could. Have you ever done any space scenes or anything spacey? Because, I mean, you're architecture and landscapes, aren't you?
I did when I was younger, actually, when I was at art college.
Yeah.
One or two kind of like space pictures, yeah, experimenting, you know. Yes.
So, yeah, possibly he could.
Yes, that's possible, yeah. It's within my remit.
Gesso to prime your canvas. Gesso's a good primer. I've heard a lot of people using it in terrain building, but I don't really use it. I prefer my spray primers. They're on quicker, thinner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
yeah, gesso does tend to be quite thick and chunky. By its very nature, it's got something in it that makes it.
What is it?
I think it's got chalk in it, actually. I think it's chalk.
And is it acrylic suspension with chalk then?
Yeah. It's titanium dioxide, acrylic polymer, and usually some chalk. Is what most commonly used. Yeah.
So what? No, I should have a play with it at some point. But it's always been too gloopy for me. You know what I mean? Too much to work when I can just go in with a simple spray.
It tastes quite puddingy stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to, you can build it up into a kind of like a texture as well. Gesso. That's kind of what it's designed for, really.
And you got stucco, which is more heavy with the chalk, isn't it?
Yeah, that's even thicker. That's like gesso plus.
Yeah.
Even more chalk, yes. Yeah. Or whiting or whatever it is they put in, I'm not sure.
Nice one, Tim. Thanks for all your wisdom. You're welcome, Westside. It's been a nice, mellow show, to be truthful. I've been a bit distracted, to be truthful, with my trenches. But now they're looking all right. Just... that water, I'm going to be beating myself up over that water for ages. Absolutely ages.
Yes, I know. Sometimes when I'm painting a picture, if I haven't got something right, I can actually have a sleepless night worrying about it.
Yeah. It's crazy. But then again, it's your living, isn't it?
It is indeed, yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, whenever I do these things, you know, it's very much I'm putting myself out into the world, right? I mean, I know with this one, loads of people, what period is that from? Where's the detail? Where's this? Where? And it's like, I just know all the questions that are coming. Fred does the nebula effect table, and Mel does the asteroid cosmic dust bits. Hide glue and chalk makes a nice gesso for oil paint. Wow. Yeah, making your own hide glue. What's hide glue?
Yeah, it's made from rabbit skin.
Yeah.
They get it from abattoirs. Rabbit skin and crushed bones, the hooves of cattle, that kind of thing. Crush it up into like a gelatin.
Right.
And then you add hot water to it. And it's kind of rather old-fashioned. The only trouble is with hide glue is that it's hydroscopic. So it absorbs and discharges moisture all the time.
Yeah, so...
And it will do that forever. Even when it's bone dry, it will still absorb moisture.
Right, so it's one of those, like, it's got to be kept in a certain environment, certain temperature, certain humidity, otherwise it's going to start sweating. And...
Yes, you can have problems with it technically sometimes. Yeah, I personally don't use it. It's I use acrylic, like acrylic size, which is very similar, but it's obviously not organic.
Yeah, so you don't have the issues with the water retention and
it's non-hydroscopic. It doesn't absorb the discharge moisture. It's less plastic, so it doesn't do anything.
Mel and Fred should run a summer school.
Oh yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Oh, we could have a play with that.
Yes, for everybody on the holidays in the summer. Yeah,
I used to use gesso for priming figures, switched to Vallejo's surface primer a few years ago. Yeah, I prefer the spray primers. They're quicker, they're easier to apply. You get a decent primer. And the other thing is, I like the Army Painter primers because they're colour. Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Army Painter do this thing where they colour match their paints in the pots with the primers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can spray prime in a red. You know, when you're spraying something, sometimes you'll get little bits where you can't quite get it.
Yeah.
You know, because of the overshadow and all that sort of stuff.
Stop out, yeah.
Yeah. Well, in that situation, you can just get your red paint out or whatever colour it was in the normal paint.
Yeah.
Go along and just touch it up.
Just retouch it.
Just like, right, I'll cover that bit with just a normal bit of paint.
Yeah.
And it makes it really good because you're priming and you're painting in one hit.
Yeah.
You know, you've got your base coat on.
Yeah.
Right, so let me have a quick check of the phone, see if Kez... Oh, we had a PayPal. Who's this? Ah, it's Tanya. Tanya B. What's she saying? Am I in trouble? I'm usually in trouble. Super job on the trench, Mel, but... Personally happy you can now get onto the medieval stuff now. Indeed, so am I. I'm looking forward to getting into the medieval stuff. And that was 10 US dollars. 10 Australian dollars, sorry. Yeah, now I don't know how that equates into UK, but she goes on the screen anyway. So thank you, Tanya. Thank you, darling. And we'll put a scroll on you. Of course, we've enabled scroll. Come on. There we go. There we go. So what's the real difference between a regular paint and a primer paint? A primer paint is slightly textured. Yeah, the idea being is the primer is there to provide a nice clean surface for your acrylic paints to stick to. Okay, acrylic paint isn't designed to go really onto bare materials. Very much like house painting. Yeah, when you're doing a lot of house painting, you know, they turn around and talk, you know, especially woodwork, prime it. You know, give it a priming coat, then go in with your proper paint. And that's about getting a decent adhesion of your proper paint to your surface. And the primer is just the intermediary stage, that you've got a surface that particularly isn't good for priming. Let's say plastic. Sorry, not for priming, for painting. Plastic's a nightmare for painting on with acrylic paint. Okay, because normally you've got to get a really thin coat on it, and all you're doing is you're not actually painting it. All you're doing is smearing the paint over to get a paintable surface. So essentially, if you go onto bare plastic straight with acrylic, you are technically priming. Yeah, it's just by getting a primer spray. Primer spray it's almost got a latex. It sort of shrinks and sticks to it and grips around wherever you're spraying. You know what I mean? As it dries.
Well, not only will it bond onto the surface, but will also create a bond for the paint that you put on.
Exactly.
As well.
Yeah, it's designed to take paint. That's the surface it leaves is the perfect one for getting paint on, which makes things really easy to paint. Optimus doesn't use regular. Thank you, Tanya. I'm not always mean, am I? No, not always, but you're honest. Right, we've got about 20 minutes. Come on, give us some questions. Because we're just chatting now. And as I'm coming to terms with my watery trenches. So that's why all primers I see are matte. Yeah, there's no point having a gloss primer.
No, because they would repel the layer of paint put on top.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the primers, they actually give a slightly rough texture. And that's for the paint to grip to. Yeah. The reason paint doesn't grip to plastic and that sort of stuff is that gloss surface. So primers, a gloss primer would be ineffective as a primer.
Yes.
You know, because you're just replicating the same problem you're using the primer for, a smooth surface, when really you want a slightly textured surface.
Yeah, really, your first layer should be as matte and as dry looking as possible, so that all the subsequent layers that you paint on top of that have a key.
Right.
To kind of glue into.
To fix to. And grip to.
Yeah.
I was late to the show. Can we get a preview of these dry moats? No, Rudy, you can't. You'll have to wait for the video tomorrow, mate.
You should go backwards.
So what's going? Some people are saying white primer. Some people are saying dark and grey primer. Now, from a miniature painting and terrain painting point of view. Yeah, if we want something to be vibrant, we'll go for a white or a light grey.
White will reflect, on white, all your colours will be pure colours.
Yeah.
The colours will all look bright and light. So
vivid.
Yeah, vivid. Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah, so green will look really green. If you want to break your colours, if you want your colours to look dull and matted and muted and not pure colours, then you're better off working on a darker surface like black or grey.
Yeah.
Because that will affect the colour on top.
Right, okay. So essentially we're going back to our sort of desaturation, and we're desaturating via layers.
Yes, that's right, yeah. Because there's no such thing as opaque paint, it's almost always translucent.
Right, so even though we when we think of paint, we look at paint and we think we're putting a solid coat down.
Yeah.
The truth is with our acrylic paint, it's never actually a solid coat. What's underneath will always show through.
The only way around that would be to spade it on an inch thick.
Primer!
Right, exactly. Otherwise, you do get this, like the light travels through the colour, the colour of the primer underneath, and then comes back at you through the colour
So
again.
could you use that then? by putting a different colour underneath the colour to get a certain effect.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, I've never done that.
Yeah.
You know, just from our conversations, I've asked that. So, is there any examples of where you've done that, and what would you use that for?
Well, I never paint on white canvas. I always put an under priming, an intermediate layer in between the white and the final colour of the picture, because white is cold. So the light goes through the paint, hits the white primer, comes back through the paint, and it actually cools down the colour that you put on top.
Right. Okay.
So
is that why all your paintings have that sort of browny,
I tend to
sienna
like a browny golden kind of colour?
Yeah.
Because it warms the white of the primer and stops it from having such a cold.
So were they white prior to that?
Yes.
Oh right. Okay. Yes. If you go down to Fred's studio, I'll have to take you down one day. Yeah, tell you what, we'll do a live, because I mean it's Wi-Fi, so I'll take the kit down and we'll do a show from your studio one day.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, and you can show them all your stuff. But Fred's got a load of like canvases where you've penciled out where you're going to paint, and you know you're just waiting to get stuck in.
Yeah.
But they're all sort of like this sienna-y, browny, sort of patchy. Yeah. So that's where you've given it that warm wash sort of thing.
Yeah, well, it's always a good idea if you want like pure luminous colour to start off with white, and then you put like a very, very thin translucent layer of a warm colour over the white. Then you draw your design over that, and then paint over that. And that way, the warm tint, if you like, will kind of stop the cool throwback from the light bouncing back through from a cold surface.
Right, got you.
Because white is cold. But imagine the difference if you put red. I mean, Goya, the Spanish artist, always used to paint on dark red.
Really?
Yeah, he'd prime his canvases dark red, and then paint on that.
And what effect would that give you?
It was something he did. It was very fashionable in the late 18th, early 19th centuries. They used to paint on this like iron oxide red, and the effect is actually quite interesting. It really makes the colours a lot hotter than it would otherwise be, obviously, because it's like a really red. Red's got a hot colour, so it warms up all the colours that you put on top. So even if you paint black over red, the black looks like a warm black.
Right.
And blue obviously comes out like almost like violet, and it does affect the colours, but in a very, very subtle way.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing to remember that whatever colour is your final coat, whatever you put underneath that will affect that final coat.
Yeah. James is saying that would be awesome. We'll have to try that next time. What you call it? Next time Fred's in the mood and we can plan it in advance, we'll do a live show from his studio, and we can talk paints and colour and that sort of stuff, and you can show them your sort of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean,
interesting. Yeah.
Fred's studio is lovely. Plus, it's really posh. It's right homely, isn't it? It's got carpet and everything.
And a teapot.
Yeah, he's got proper British artist. He's got a teapot in his studio. Make sure I'm not missing anyone. No. Right, you've got about 19 minutes if you've got any questions. Maximum, probably 15 to be truthful, because Fred's missus will be coming to pick us up, so we can't be late for Pat. Can't be late.
She'll be watching the programme actually. So.
Yeah, so as we start finishing up, she'll jump in the car and come. She's only up the road. Hi, Pat. Yeah. So come on, any more questions for us while we're here? It's actually quite nice to sit down on one of these live shows and not. I know I sit down on the Sunday show, but being in the studio and actually sitting down.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's quite nice. It's a rarity for me. Yeah, they've turned out all right, haven't they?
That's looking fantastic now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be all right with that. It's not perfect, but it's finished. Where did I splash my resin on it? I know I've got a couple of drops on it somewhere. There's one.
I think it was, I saw one or two.
I know there's that one there.
Yeah.
That was our clean up, that's an easy job.
There was one on a corner as well, I think.
Yeah, there wasn't there? Just literally on
that over that side, maybe.
Yeah, there's a little bit just there.
Ah, that's it. Yeah.
Thing is, once I'm able to move it around in the light, they'll bounce up.
Yeah.
It's just with it being in shadow, I can't see it, but it's all starting to settle down. And I might come in with a little darker wash and just, on the 5 steps.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Just a couple of points.
Yeah.
Just to darken them a little. See, I am messing again.
Finessing.
Fred could make you some oil washes for your models. He could. Yes, I think he's into bolt action. Will you be wearing a Bob Ross wig? No, I won't. Would Fred ever get into Bolt Action or Warhammer? You've played war games in the past, haven't you?
A very long time ago, yes.
I mean, when you were younger.
Pre-bolt action, but yes, absolutely, yeah.
Pre-bolt action rifle, to be truthful.
Back in the days of the muskets, yeah. I once went in a shop in America and asked for cartridge paper.
Right.
Cartridge paper is just regular.
It's A4 paper here.
Drawing paper, yeah. But the guy in the store said to me, he said, "Say what?" I said, "Cartridge paper. Do you sell cartridge paper?" And he said, "That went out with the muskets, mate." Cartridges.
Yeah, we brought you, mate. You wanted your pouches with, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, it is what they used for the. Yeah, it is what they used. Wax cartridge paper. Yeah.
Right. So, what does the medieval path of events looks like? I'm going to mix it with a bit of fantasy, so we can get some magical stuff in there, because I get quite a bit of requests for that sort of stuff. One of the first videos you've got is I've been working on thatching. So you've got a technical video on thatch roofs and all the different sort of techniques: terry toweling, sculpting, acrylic filler, baby fur, scouring pads, hemp cloth. We've got loads of different techniques for doing them in that. After that, we'll look at some cottages. We'll look at how to do roundhouses, wattle and daub, that sort of stuff. Then we'll look at some wooden shingles, timber buildings, get onto like some palisades, towers perhaps. And basically what I want to do is look at all the key elements you would expect in a medieval village. Now we could step it up to the city stage, but I think that's too big of a grand of an adventure at this stage, because most of our skirmish games are played at village level.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I'm really looking for is if I can replicate from early history, say a small hill fort, couple of buildings, pens, bit of palisade, that sort of stuff, great. And then step it up to a little bit more modern, well, not modern, medieval sort of village. Yeah, but the medieval series will look at all those, and then we will finish it probably with a Motte and Bailey build. Yeah, now that isn't my castle project, that's a separate build, okay, from my big epic castle project. But the Motte and Bailey will be much the same style as the trenches, whereas these trenches have been the end of level boss for the Battlefield Basics series of Let's Makes. The Motte and Bailey will be the end of level boss for the medieval series. So we'll do all the small stuff like we've done with the Battlefield Basics of the trench, of bunkers and small craters and razor wire and tank traps and all that sort of stuff. And then we've gone for the whole big trenches and combined them all. We'll do the same with the Motte and Bailey. Yeah, we'll take everything we've learned in the series, build something big out of it, and step the details up a bit. Yeah, to take it to that next level. Yeah, so that'll be the plan for the medieval. Flay the teddies. I don't need to flay the teddies. I found a place where I got teddy bear fur from. So I bought some. Yeah, here we go. I've got teddy bear fur.
Wow.
Yeah. So that'll become thatching.
Oh, wow. That's what you use for thatching, is it? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So it needs a little bit more PVA and a bit more, but you can see where it would go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And how it works.
Yeah.
Messing with paint. There's hemp material. Even use scouring pads.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about what it looks like. I mean, this is...
That's the right texture, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it works well.
Yeah, I would never have thought that. Yeah. And most battles in medieval times were out in fields, weren't they, really?
They were, to be truthful, there were very few battles in medieval times. I mean, if you go and have a look at, I think during the, just before the conquest of, Jerusalem, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the king at the time, who was it? It was,
well, the English king.
Lionheart, Richard
Lionheart,
yeah. He's often credited with being quite a famous commander. Yeah, quite, But in truth, he only fought about 3 battles in his entire life.
Yeah.
Majority of combat in the medieval world was sieges.
Yes.
Yeah, if you got somewhere to hide behind, you hid behind it.
Yeah.
There was no point in going out and meeting the enemy army. So quite often it would be, can we last long enough for reinforcements to arrive and rescue us?
Like the siege of Jerusalem.
And it was it was very much more siege warfare. I mean, he conducted something like 60 sieges for only 3 battles.
Oh, interesting. Because the Romans did all that, didn't they? They developed siege.
Yeah, they
siege
did.
machinery, siege engines.
Yeah, but the siege engines were developed for the Greek states when they tried to amalgamate the Greek states, not for Northern Europeans.
No.
Yeah, for the Northern Europeans, we met them outside. We didn't fight a defensive battle. The Celts didn't. Celts went out and met them on the battlefield.
Yes.
So the siege engines were kind of redundant from a siege point of view because very few sieges actually went on. Yeah. Especially if you looked at the sort of defences they were up against in Europe. I mean, they were up against like picket, palisades.
Yes.
Whereas, when they were trying to consolidate the Greek states, they were up against the walls of Troy.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? There was a vast difference in the, so they needed those trench works and they needed those massive siege engines and stuff like that to take on those sort of armies. Because if you think about the Celtic armies, if you think about like the Greek armies, they were organised in phalanxes, in large armies, large units. And then if you switch over to Celtic warfare, you pretty much got a band of crazy fuckers. So, crazy flockers, sorry. Sorry. But you know what I mean? You've got this band of crazy people who, they're not really coordinated, they're not in regimented units.
It's not a military command, so it's just a bunch of people with a...
Exactly. Well, I mean, it's the village. Every able-bodied man in the village came out to fight, and they came out to fight, which is why
they were women.
Yeah, very much so.
And women too,
and that's why, the Romans easily beat them. They had far harder times than the more developed states of the Mediterranean.
Because the Romans were quite often outnumbered like 10 to 1, weren't they? But because they kept formation and they had military discipline, then it's amazing what they achieved, really.
I mean, the thing is, discipline in combat is the thing. It's the biggest factor. It's why the British Army is so successful. It may not be watchful, but they're disciplined in combat, which means if they go in, they're going in to do a job. And if the other person is less disciplined, they will break, no matter how many people they've got. Because they won't sustain the casualties. A professional soldier will take the casualties and keep going. Whereas an unprofessional soldier will see the casualties start mounting up, and he starts looking how far down the line until I'm in that pile. At what point do I? Whereas a professional soldier will be, I either get the job done or I die doing it. That sort of. I'm not saying that they rush into death all the time, but I'm saying it's that mentality. They are willing to sacrifice their lives to achieve that, compared to an unprofessional soldier. Who's like conscripted, doesn't really want to be there. First opportunity to get the hell out of here, and I'm off because everyone's died. None of my bosses are around now. No one's going to catch me. Boom, gone.
I always remember being absolutely amazed reading about.
Sorry, Callum.
The Battle of Borodino. You ever come across the Battle of Borodino in 1812, when Napoleon invaded Russia?
Right.
And they almost got to Moscow, like the Germans. And they got stopped just outside of Moscow at a place called the Borodino River. There's a river there called the Borodino River. And there was a huge battle there in 1812. It was the biggest cavalry battle ever in history.
Right.
And the French cavalry was led by somebody called Marshal Murat. Marshal Murat was a bit of a character. So he decided on that day to wear a flamingo pink uniform with a flamingo pink ostrich feather sticking out the top of his hat.
What?
And he led a charge of, I can't remember the figure now, probably about 4,000 French cavalry towards the Russian guns, wearing a flamingo pink outfit, leading from the front, armed with nothing more than a fairy wand with a little star on the end. And that was because he wanted to show his men he wasn't frightened.
Then again, have you read the quotes about Lord Wingate out the Chindits and some of the stuff with him?
Yes.
He was another character, and I don't know, and people loved him. Absolutely loved him.
Well, wouldn't you follow somebody who's so totally unafraid that he'd go charging off dressed in bright pink?
I'm here. Shoot your arrows at me, guys.
He didn't even have a gun. He just had a stick with a fairy with a star.
What is it? Mad Jack went up D-Day beaches with a longbow and a whatchamacallit and a sword, didn't he?
Yes, I heard about that. Yes. Yeah.
We've got Warlord's got models for Mad Jack, haven't they?
Have they really? Yeah.
Pink was actually a masculine colour until fairly recently, was it, Tam? I've heard that in the past, actually.
Yeah.
I'm sure my mum used to say that when she was a kid, they dressed boys in pink because it was a masculine
I didn't know that. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, colours do change. Tastes and colour changes as well. Yeah, it's certainly true. Cars, for instance, cars always used to be either black or brown or green.
Well, they started off as black because that was the only colour. You can have it in any colour you want as long as it's black.
As long as it's black. Then they got really down and made them brown and green. But yeah, that was about it for years. That's all I had. Yeah.
I was always told. I had a friend who was a police officer, and he always told me never buy a red car.
Oh yeah, because they always stop the red cars.
Do you know why?
Yeah. I think it's psychological actually.
No. They play They play snooker. You got to get a red before you get the next colour. No, seriously.
Really?
Yeah, and then it's really common that they'll pull. They'll play snooker. First one to the black.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've got to find someone doing an offence in that colour to pull them.
Oh.
Yeah, and if you get a red, then you can go for a colour.
That's actually quite funny.
Yeah, and this cop was being really serious with me, like, just seriously, just don't get a red car.
No.
If you're on the motorway, you'll get pulled because we need those every other ball.
Yeah, but I've heard actually 6% of the time they will pick on a red car rather than another car.
Yeah, the original Special Air Services had pink landies in the desert. Military vehicles are still painted pink in the desert. It's about in the desert you move at dusk and dawn. Okay, you don't move at night and you don't move in the day. Okay, but you move roughly in that changing period. Because at that point during the day, visibility is at its lowest. The light screws with us because it's down in our eyes and that sort of stuff. Also, as you've mentioned in the past, as you're getting closer to sunset, the sky takes a reddy tinge. Which basically tinges the entire place pink, which is why the camouflage pink. Okay, but that they move around at those sort of periods, and it's because the light at those periods is pink, reddish, that the actual vehicles are camouflage pink. I've seen them. What you call it? Weirdest thing to see on a military base, a pink. What you call it?
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's counterintuitive. That.
It is. It is. I mean, you used to see the white ones. You know, the ones that have been doing Kosovo and UN and that sort of stuff.
Snow.
Yeah. You used to see the old. I mean, you don't see them so much. I mean, when I was in, you used to see. I was in just as Northern Ireland started to calm down, so you had a lot of the Northern Ireland guys coming back, and you'd have the big wagons with the confidential reporting number written on the side.
Oh yeah.
You know, like the armoured Land Rovers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, you'd see those, but seeing a pink stripped down landy is the weirdest thing. Like, what? And then the penny drops, and you're like, oh, Sassa's around. What are they doing here? They're looking for victims. I heard that the Ford only colour was a joke. Off to search Google. Find out for us, Rudy. It's a joke, but true. They were only sold in black.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. I never knew they still use pink. That's interesting. Yeah, they still use pink, but it's about the light at that particular time of day, why it's pink, and the fact that they move at dawn and dusk. You camp down during the day because you do not want to be moving during the day in the heat. Yeah. And I mean, you've got to remember, one of the issues with moving around a lot in the day is if you've ever been on a long journey in in the summer, you'll know how your car overheats and how hot it gets. Now imagine in the desert.
Right.
You know, a Land Rover driving round fully kitted up. You're going to overheat the engine. Do you know what I mean? And so quite often you move at dawn and dusk, but you have an option to move at night. So if you're moving at dusk, and you haven't got far enough, it's a lot easier to move at night or catch the rest of the distance in dawn when it's cooler than risk getting broken down in the day. Because, I mean, your water can boil. You blow your radiator, you're stuck in the desert. You know what I mean?
Plus, in the desert, in the middle of the day, I mean, you could be seeing like 100 miles away, can't you? Especially if you're moving.
Well, it's the dust clouds and everything like that. I mean, camels don't throw up dust clouds. Vehicles... I mean, especially if they go over, it's not so much an issue with like going over something like a sandy desert. Sandy desert is difficult to get through, but it doesn't throw much particles. You go up a dusty road, hard ground, with a tracked vehicle, you will see that dust cloud for miles, especially where it's flat desert. You know what I mean? Which is why dawn and dusk. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
World War I camo was pretty wild. Yeah, it was. No, the SAS were looking for medics.
They were still developing camouflage in World War One, actually, and interestingly enough, they had artists on the job. Yeah, they had artists developing the camouflage.
I can understand that.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, we are on 28. I think we've chatted enough to be truthful. Our teas are waiting for us and our wives are waiting for us. We've done the trenches. I'm back in to finish the filming tomorrow. So, in Catterick, we painted a chieftain pink.
That's funny.
Do you know what? I don't think I've seen it, but I've heard the story from Catterick.
Did you ever see the Combat Dealers episode where Bruce Compton comes across a panther, a German World War II Panther tank?
Painted pink.
Painted pink, and somebody said it was the Pink Panther.
There's a Japanese cartoon about these three teenage Japanese girls who go round driving panzer tanks, and they're all jazzed up in various like anime colours and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Girls under Panzer, it's called.
Yeah, Tank Girls.
Yeah, very.
Film Tank Girl,
yeah. Well, yeah, I think she's from it. So no, she's from a different comic. Tank Girl is a specific character.
That's different. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's what you call it. It's quite good. Anyway, you will have a video Saturday at the latest because that's the last day of March. Yeah, and I've got to get a video out for then. You should have 2 videos coming on the trenches because they're going to be long videos, so I'm not going to do them in one sitting. Yeah. So you've got that coming, guys. Yeah, I'll be editing tonight. I'll be editing tomorrow. You'll have your content, and then next week we'll just get back into the role, do our normal sort of stuff back with the Let's Makes, and I want to do some terrain labs and stuff like that. And we'll have a chat with Fred about going have a session in his studio. So in the meantime, before we go, make sure I've not missed anyone. No, I haven't. I just wanted to check, just in case someone had donated and not got a shout out.
Oh, right.
Yeah, no, hey, when that happens. But anyway, guys, listen, thanks for joining me. Sorry I've been a little bit distracted with this one. It's just, resin work and that sort of stuff. It'll be back to normal on Sunday. So I will see you at home on Sunday. And until then, it's goodbye from me. And it's goodbye from him.
That's goodbye from me.
Catch you later, guys. Ta-ra. Right, click the button and